Speaking of point spreads, Luka, there are other NFL games this weekend, and we're going to cover 3 of those right now in Luka's Locks. Tell the folks how your season's been going in Luka's Locks.
It's been a roller coaster, that's for sure. We had that mid-season absolute ridiculous cold streak. But then we had a 3-0 2 weeks ago. We had a little bit of a setback last week with a 1-2, although it was the 2-unit play. Thank you, Vikings and Josh Dobbs, the Pastronaut, for that. I mean, he covered and some. We're doing okay. We're trying to right the ship here. I'm feeling good about this week. I'll be quite honest. This is an interesting week. I don't really care for the slate, but then kind of looking at it over a little bit and stuff of that nature, I do like the picks I got. Naturally, I like the picks I got, of course, but I'm liking them a little bit more than when I was in my drought and it was kind of just reaching at straws for what I like kind of deal. I think we're in a spot here, Josh, where I think I can right the ship.
Well, let's start off with an NFC East matchup in Washington, D.C., as the Washington Commanders and Sam Howell, who's starting to look like a pretty good quarterback, take on the New York Giants and Tommy DeVito, who is not starting to look like a pretty good quarterback. The Washington Commanders are a 9-point favorite. The over-under in this game is 37.5. Luka, what do you see in this game?
I see just a classic divisional matchup with then also a bad quarterback being played in this game, an all-time bad quarterback. Maybe not Clayton Tune all-time bad with the Cardinals, but DeVito does look horrible in his own right. And this matchup is just, don't overthink it. You know, earlier in the season, we had a Commanders at New York game that finished 14-7, right? It wasn't the prettiest affair at all together. And somehow, some way, the Giants actually won that game. I will say, now that it's back in Washington and Sam Howell is somehow your passing leader in the NFL, I do like Washington a lot in this game, but what I love even more is under 37.5. Don't overthink it. It's a divisional game as we approach Thanksgiving. It's always the time, even when you are seeing overs hit in the league, to bet the under. It's the perfect storm to hit the under. And this has been an under type season. Yes, it's a low number at 37.5. I do believe Sam Howell will be able to run the offense well for them. I just question if DeVito is going to be able to do anything at all, especially with what we've seen. I just also need him to not turn over the ball a crazy number of times and just essentially put the ball in his own end zone like he did against Dallas. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen. But overall, I just like under 37.5. This feels like a classic divisional kind of late season game where it's going to be ugly. It's going to be low scoring. It's probably not going to be great material to watch on television. So therefore, if you're going to give me minus 105 on FanDuel for under 37.5, I will absolutely take it. I love that play.
9 points is a massive point spread for a division game when neither one of these teams are great. I think that speaks to just how bad the Giants have been recently. They have been hit hard by injuries, losing their top 2 quarterbacks. Speaking of big division spreads, AFC South rivals do battle this week in Jacksonville as the Tennessee Titans and Will Levis head to Jacksonville to take on a Jacksonville Jaguars team that is licking their wounds after being blown out at home last week against the San Francisco 49ers. The division-leading Jaguars are favored by 7 points. Luka, how do you see this game going?
This is a game where I'll start with this. Everything I said about the Giants-Commanders game, classic divisional game, later in the season, it's a grind, low scoring, yada, yada, yada. Tennessee is historically awful right now on the road. They are just abysmal. They can't even stay remotely close into games. They let me down last week against a bad Tampa Bay team. And the Jaguars, off of an absolute ass beating, are now getting to play a team where I think after that kind of initial high they've had with Will Levis, Tennessee has looked quite low right now, and they look a little bit lost. Even for a well-coached team, I still respect Vrabel a lot as a head coach. I just think the talent is gone, and the biggest weakness of Tennessee, to be quite frank, is their pass defense, and the Jags are set up so perfectly for something like that, even without the kind of likes of Zay Jones because of his own personal issues. and stuff of that nature. I think Doug Peterson and the passing game can be schemed up very well in this matchup. And overall, when you need a bounce back game, this is the time to do it. Yes, it could still hit that under a 40, but in unconventional ways, I do believe the Jags cover that 7-point spread. It is a lot of points, especially in a divisional game, but it's one of those, I'll call it man in the suit situations. You hear that with other individuals as well, where it's like, it tells me that I should be taking Tennessee +7. The public money is even on the Jags a little bit right now with that 7-point spread, but I'm going to flip everything and I'm just going to go right back to the Jags because there is just absolutely nothing in my mind going for the Titans where I believe that they could even score, let's say 14 points to then force the Jags to score 21 points. Like it's just one of those ones where if the Titans score 13 points, I'll be shocked, but I can easily see a world where Jacksonville eclipses 20. So therefore, give me the Jags -7.
Yeah, the shine is off Will Levis big time. Boy, he looked good early on, but he lacks serious touch and accuracy. I had some DeAndre Hopkins bets last week that should have gone way better than they did. He was open a lot, but could not get the ball delivered to him accurately by Will the Thrill Levis. All right. Another division matchup this week, Luka. NFC West. The Seattle Seahawks travel to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. The Seahawks are a 1-point favorite. Stafford's back this week, right?
Stafford is back this week. Yes.
That's kind of odd because I know the Rams historically play really well against the Seahawks. I hope I'm not tipping the hand of where you're going with this. But I am going to say, Luka, how do you see this NFC West showdown going?
It is kind of funny. I didn't even recognize it until we just went through this breakdown here, Josh, but I chose 3 divisional games. I guess we're at that point of season, though, where you start seeing them ramp back up as we then continue on. So it's hard to avoid them. This is a game here where it's like, I feel Seattle is in this weird gray area space, and Geno's kind of trending downwards a little bit, but he still got that win last week too. And I think a lot of the public I know is on Seattle right now. I don't want to say a lot, but a good majority is on Seattle. But the Rams are coming off a bye. They get Stafford back. They finally have Stafford with Kupp and Puka Nacua once again. And let's not forget, without Kupp week 1, the Rams dominated the Seahawks. Because as you pointed out, there's this cyclical thing in the NFC West. Kyle Shanahan owns Sean McVay. Then Sean McVay owns Pete Carroll. And then for whatever reason, normally Pete Carroll would then have a pretty good feeling of how to handle Kyle Shanahan. And then they all gang up on the Cardinals and they all dominate the Cardinals. That's just how it works in the NFC West. With all of that in mind, this line made no sense to me. I don't understand how you saw the Seahawks being the favorite this whole time. I will say on PointsBet, it's already flipped. The Rams are -1. On Caesar Sportsbook, it is a true pick'em. They are not even giving you the ability to take a spread. It is only money line, true pick'em. But on DraftKings and FanDuel, you can get them at +1. Screw the point. Give me the money line. I expect the Rams to win this game with Stafford back and healthy. I love the money line in this situation. I think the history of McVay owning Pete Carroll continues because I just also don't believe in Geno Smith to run an efficient offense. I just don't think it happens for them. And we've seen it even going back to the later years of Russell Wilson in Seattle. Later in the season, I think there's just not enough creativity with the Seattle offense, no matter who's play calling, that eventually they get got. So even a subpar defense like the Rams can at least hold their own and do their part against a subpar play in Geno Smith. And then Stafford and McVay can do their job through the air with Kupp, with Nacua, and whoever else they have in the backfield. I think right now it's Henderson Jr. splitting with Royce Freeman, which is wild, but they will be able to do okay things themselves. And I think the Rams end up winning this divisional game. I love it. I'm putting it as my absolute lock of the week with the 2-unit play. Give me the Rams money line against the Seahawks.
And that's a good tip too, is when you see a -1 point spread, you might as well just take the extra juice and take the money line because all you're giving up is the 1-point win for the Rams. That would be a push for you. Get the extra money in your pocket. You think the Rams are going to win, just take the money line. So to wrap up Luka's locks for week number 11, he has the New York Giants and Washington Commanders under 37.5 points. The Jacksonville Jaguars covering a 7-point spread over the Tennessee Titans at home, and the Rams at home beating the Seattle Seahawks. Doesn't even want the point he's given. Give him the money line. That is his 2-unit play. And that will do it for the Week 11 edition of Luka's Locks.